After a few weeks of focusing on the controversies of rappers Ye and Diddy, Piers Morgan has finally found the time to return to U.S. politics, and unfortunately, return to his very bad habit of grading Donald Trump on a curve and deflecting from Trump's stupidity, corruption, incompetence, and unpopularity, instead, choosing to focus on former President Joe Biden and former FBI Director James Comey and his seashells. Unfortunately for Morgan and his MAGA allies, Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire and Dave Rubin from Mother Russia, they were trounced in a heated debate by progressive journalist Wajahat Ali and liberal streamer Destiny. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to play from this most recent episode of Piers Morgan Uncensored. And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed in that Piers was making such progress of late on his political coverage. He was demonstrating sympathy. He was calling out MAGA. He was actually starting to demonstrate those nonpartisan journalistic bona fides that he often claims, criticizing Trump and MAGA as often as he praises them. This, on the other hand, which you're about to see, this is textbook. This is classic Piers Morgan from 6 months ago. And unfortunately, it doesn't do him or his allies any good. So for the first part of the conversation, the topic is President Biden's health, his mental health, and his cancer diagnosis.
You actually might agree with me on this. So here, let me just finish. Joe Biden is a very old man. Breaking news. He's 82 years old. I agree with you that Joe Biden should not have run or even announced that he was run for president, right? He was supposed to be a one-term president. I believe Joe Biden did immense damage to the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris by announcing at a very late stage that he wouldn't run, and he was pressured not to run. I think he made a huge mistake. He's 82 years old. Now, I'm all for fair and balance. And I don't know, I'm going to take my Republican counterparts, my MAGA counterparts out there at their word right now. Let's have fair and balance. I'm all here. Let's release all the public records. Let's release all the health records of President Biden, who is not president. Also, let's also focus on the man who's currently president, Donald Trump. He's the oldest person to ever be elected president. He's about to turn 79 years old. I want the health records of Joe Biden. I also want the health records of Donald Trump. Specifically, I want the records of his failed assassination attempt. You know, the bullet that grazed the ear. That is very traumatic for anybody, especially a 78-year-old man. Release all the health records. Number one. Number two.
Wow, you're sounding
Donald
like
Trump,
a man.
Sorry,
Vijaya, you are sounding
50-50.
With respect,
Let's do 50-50.
With respect, you are beginning to sound like a mad conspiracy theorist.
Not at all. I think that's perfectly fair. Donald Trump, with respect to his health and his finances, has been absolutely secretive. Donald Trump was the first presidential candidate in recent memory to refuse to turn over his tax filings. President Biden did it. Kamala Harris did it. Hillary Clinton did it. Donald Trump has always been secretive with respect to his health and his finances. As a matter of fact, a doctor during his first term admitted she basically just signed a bullshit note. And we've been getting this from Donald Trump for years, where it's like, oh, he's 6'3", 200 pounds. He's got the heart and body mass and body fat of a NFL, wide receiver. And it's total horse shit. So I like that. Like, hey, listen, we got nothing to hide. We're not part of a cult. You want to investigate Joe Biden. You want to probe Joe Biden's health by all means. He's the former president. So we should at least hold the current standard the current president to the same standard. I think that's a beautiful, a very persuasive argument. Unfortunately, Piers and Michael Knowles and Dave Rubin don't want to play ball.
Wait, no. I want the release of records.
What do you think?
Wait.
You don't think he was shot in the ear? You don't believe that? What are you getting at?
I agree he was shot in the ear.
What mad conspiracy are you pursuing?
I agree he was shot in the ear. We do not have the health records. Those health records were not made public. I agree he was shot in the ear. I was on your show. He was shot. He survived. Release the public health records of Donald Trump. Release the public health records of Joe Biden. I want to remind everyone, the oldest man to be elected is president right now, Donald Trump.
So again, I love it. He's just being fair, and I totally agree. This idea that we should hold a former president to a higher standard than the current president is absurd. Doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. There should be health disclosures and financial disclosures required by law for Democratic presidents and Republican presidents, current and former. Totally agree. But as you can see, Piers Morgan wants none of that. Michael Knowles wants none of that. Dave Rubin wants none of that. Here's another clip.
I'm going to be honest. I haven't followed the news recently, and I lose track of this sometimes. Right now, who's the president? Is it Trump or is it Biden? Because every single day I turn the news on, Trump is talking about Biden, the conservatives are talking about Biden, everybody is talking about Biden. It feels like that is the only thing that these people can ever talk about because they're trying to take away attention from Trump's disastrous econ
because
policy,
there was a major
from the utter
involving
failures
Biden,
that he's
like 3
running
days
into
ago.
over and over and over again with all of the courts, with the insane arguments that they're putting in front of the Supreme Court, trying to get rid of things like birthright citizenship. But for some reason, we're talking about Biden again. Also, it's no
Because there was a
surprise
major
that conservatives
scandal.
are once again, there is no scandal. There is no evidence of any scandal whatsoever. It's just more conservatives demonstrating
scandal-
again that they know nothing
would you
about
like me to
medicine.
explain
There's no
or anything about
evidence of a
cancer. No, you don't need to explain
scandal.
anything
The
while
man
I'm giving
was
it.
not
While I'm giving my
competent
answer
to
to
be
Pierre's
president
question.
of the United
You say
States.
the man wasn't competent to be president. I'm curious. Can you show me a single time when Joe Biden sat down and had EOs brought to him and explained to him that he'd never seen before, like we see Trump sign on an almost daily basis? One example of
Well,
that.
they didn't bring them to Joe Biden because an auto
Exactly.
pen
You have
did
no
it.
examples of that. No, you have
Yeah,
no
there
examples
actually
of that.
was
Donald
reporting
Trump
that
is
he didn't
worse.
know
That
what was in the
Donald
EOs
Trump
he was
is
signing.
worse. That's great, but you can see videos of Biden explaining
Destiny, let me
what's
ask
in
you a
the EOs
question.
and what he
Videotaped Joe
oversighted.
Biden because he was
Hold on, let me
drooling on
finish. Let me finish my answer. For all of these people that are so concerned about Biden's health, everybody got so offended when Elon Musk was asked about his ketamine abuse. So they said we had no right into the minds, the drug use, or the medical records of people that might be
Elon Musk
involved
isn't
in
the president.
major parts of the government. That he was involved in dismantling huge parts of the government. He was the president's right-hand man. Just right there, we just heard another pivot, another abdication of responsibility. The reality is conservatives know nothing about medicine. All of you guys on here are saying it's totally common to test for prostate cancer past 50. It's not. Past 70, it's not recommended. Believe it or not, and I know in the movies and in the TV shows, it seems like you can test for every single thing at every point in time. You can't test for every single thing at every point in time. You don't do that because you get a lot of false
prostate
He's
cancer
the
positives.
president of the
How long
United
does-
So we'll stop right there for just a second. Again, notice how it's a 3v1. So Piers asked Destiny a question. Michael Knowles and Dave Rubin feel the need to interject, and it's almost like an episode of The Five on Fox News where Jessica Tarlov is interrupted. But he's right. Donald Trump is the president. And right now, the reason that Piers is doing this is his editorialization. I think it's perfectly fair to ask questions. It was perfectly fair during the campaign to scrutinize President Biden's mental and physical health. I just felt that the Republican candidate should also be held to the same standard because they were both presidents at one point. Trump was at that point the former president. Biden was the current president. Both of them were trying to be president again. They should both be scrutinized and held to the same standard. And if Trump comes out looking out better, that's fine, but hold them to the same standard. Piers and Michael Knowles and Dave Rubin and every major MAGA influencer didn't want to do that, number one. Number two, now that Biden has left office and will never seek office again, and he's currently, he's been diagnosed with a stage 4, potentially fatal cancer diagnosis, you can still scrutinize that if you want. But it is just objectively true that what's going on with the current president is more important by definition. What went on with Biden was more important than what went on with Trump when Biden was in power and Trump wasn't, as important as it was with Trump. But this is what happens. It doesn't matter whether Trump's in power or out of power. Republicans want to focus on somebody else. And that's why, given all Trump's unpopularity, his historic unpopularity, the historic examples of corruption, unprecedented examples from the Qatar, luxury jet to the meme coin, the stable coin, World Liberty Financial, the dinner that Trump's having tonight. Think about this. When this was recorded, Trump was hosting a dinner. It's the same day that Trump was hosting a dinner for 220 top purchasers of his cryptocurrency. The conservative Wall Street Journal has called him out for this. The National Review has called him out for this. There are so many people, but Piers doesn't want to talk about it at all. He'd rather instead focus on Joe Biden. I want to make this clear. Piers Morgan holds former Democratic presidents to higher ethical standards than sitting Republican presidents because that's what's convenient for him. He knows if he holds Trump to the same standard as Biden or any other Democrat, Trump loses by definition because he's dumber than all of them. He's more corrupt than all of them. That's just where it is. And you see this on full display here. So good points by Destiny. We'll continue.
Does that PSA test take you? When you do that PSA test annually,
It doesn't
Piers,
matter.
how long does
Over
that
the
take
age
you?
of
Is that a
seven-
big
over the
problem
age
for
It
the
of
doctor?
literally
doctor.
takes,
You can-
it takes,
listen, hey, where's
literally
Where's the
takes
fact
3
checker?
minutes.
Over the age of 70, you do not test men for prostate.
He's right. He's not that you don't. It's not like you can't, but it's not recommended after the age of 70. Now, you can say, well, the president there should be different standards for the president, that the president's physician should have recommended it, like, hey, normally we don't do this, but you're the sitting president. All of that's fine, well, and good. But there's no medical recommendation for it, and there's no law compelling it. But if there's evidence, if evidence can be produced of some sort of conspiracy concealing President Biden's cancer diagnosis, people are free to present it, but there's no evidence at this point in time.
So, if MAGA does believe that James Comey was intentional.
Oh, I should say, this is the part where they discuss former FBI director James Comey, whom we've mentioned in previous videos, assembled an arrangement of, well, he says he came across an assemblage of seashells at the beach, which had the numbers 8647. Now, 86 is an expression, as we've discussed in previous videos, which means to get rid of, to take off the menu. MAGA believes that it was a call to action, a call to violence against Donald Trump, which, of course, is absurd. There's no reason to believe that, but this is what they're clinging to now, and that's what Waja is about to address.
In posting that an 86 means kill, then like I said in your last answer, I want everything to be fair and balanced. I'm trying to bring people together. Like you said in the last one, release every single information about Joe Biden's public health.
Do you believe James Comey when he says... Do you believe him when he Instagrammed the picture of 8647 for the former FBI director? I had no idea what that meant.
You're going to like my answer. You're going to like my answer. I'm fair and balanced here. If you truly believe, and if my co-panelists here, my MAGA co-panelists believe that James Comey intended that 86 meant to kill Joe Biden and you want to investigate him, I say fine. But then you also have to investigate Jack Posobiec. Oh, you know, the MAGA dude who literally sold merchandise while Joe Biden was president.
I'm not talking about him, Stop the distraction.
Wait a second.
Focus on the stories.
Stop being a hypocrite. If you think 86 means to kill, then you have to prosecute Jack Posobiec, who was making money off of merchandise that's at 86.46 while Joe Biden was president. Then you have to also investigate Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, let me finish. Matt Gaetz said 86, not Democrats. Matt Gaetz said 86 Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, right? So, and Kevin Johnson. So, maybe if you want to prosecute James Comey, I'm being fair. I
think he meant McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy. He confused Kevin McCarthy and Mike Johnson. So yes, this is also a really good point that we addressed. We need to hold people to the same standards. Now, the dictionary definition of 86 does not involve any sort of physical violence or lethal intent or anything like that. But if that's the standard we're going to create, then that means when conservatives use the number 86 against people they don't like or their political opponents, like President Biden, as Jack Posobiec, who was a guest of Piers Morgan Uncensored at one point or another, as he did, then we need to hold everybody to the same standard. Now, even Piers like, oh shit, he's got me there. That's whataboutery. Now, again, you can dislike whataboutery or whataboutism all you like, but if MAGA engages in whataboutery and whataboutism on Piers' show, he lets it slide. Because again, he holds MAGA to a different standard, a lower standard, which is intellectually dishonest, because Piers knows if he holds MAGA to the same standards as Democrats, they will almost always lose the debate to Democrats. And if he holds Trump to the same standard as elected Democrats, Trump will always lose there too, because he's morally and intellectually inferior to all of them. So you have to have some affirmative action to help MAGA out. We'll continue with this clip.
Hold on, you guys keep bringing up that they tried to kill Donald Trump twice. You know what else happened twice? He got impeached twice as well. So maybe 86 could be in the third impeachment attempt.
All right, Dave Rubin.
They've got nothing for that. And it's true. This is something else I discussed as well. So, you know, I think it was the National Review mentioned like, 86 can't refer to anything else. James Comey's, it's ridiculous. No, you could have the 22nd Amendment. That's one way to get rid of Donald Trump by invoking the 22nd Amendment and having his cabinet kick him out of office. You could impeach him, as Trump was impeached twice. And it's not like he's ineligible for impeachment, right? He could be impeached again. The only reason he can't be impeached now or won't be impeached now is because of Republicans refusing to find anything this man does as unimpeachable. He could literally shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, as Trump said famously years ago, and not lose a single vote. It's the same standard here. But impeachment is absolutely on the table as a form of, getting rid of Donald Trump. So there's no reason to just interpret it in this way. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever. Why would James Comey, who does not have a history of violence or violent rhetoric, say something like that and mean it in a violent way, knowing that Donald Trump is the president and there's a campaign of retribution that Trump is waging against his political opponents? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The Occam's razor, the simplest explanation, is that James Comey did not realize that MAGA Republicans would interpret this in bad faith to mean a violent attack on Donald Trump.
All I got to say is good luck, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel.
Sorry, the topic switched there too. I forgot. This was the other thing. Kash Patel, the FBI director, and Dan Bongino, deputy FBI director, both of them conspiracy theorists, had an awkward interview on Fox News where they said that, yeah, after reviewing the evidence, Jeffrey Epstein did actually commit suicide, which of course runs contrary to the MAGA conspiracy theory that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. Now, remember, as before Waj replies, that when Epstein was murdered, Epstein, of course, being a deceased sex trafficker and pedophile, Epstein was murdered in federal custody while Donald Trump was president.
Because never go full conspiracy theorist. This is going to be MAGA eating its own tail. You know the people are really pissed off, Piers? Not me, MAGA. Because MAGA wants the public records of the Epstein files. They were promised it. And now Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who promoted the conspiracy about the deep state, right, and pro-January 6th, now they are the deep state, head of the FBI and the deputy. And guess what? MAGA is pissed off. And the reason why, probably, they don't want to release these records is Jeffrey Epstein, according to his own words, you've heard the tapes, he said, who was his closest friend? Donald Trump. Who did he party with? Donald Trump. Who's on the flight logs?
Oh my God,
Donald
you're
Trump.
about to
There's
spread the worst conspiracy theory of them all. Wow.
What? No, they're friends. You heard,
wow. Well, John, are you suggesting Donald Trump killed Jeffrey Epstein? Is that what you're doing, having announced you hate conspiracy theories?
You said that.
Is that your position?
No, I think he killed himself. I think Dan and Kash Patel are actually honest. I think he killed himself. But MAGA's pissed off right now because MAGA was promised full release of the public files. Pam Bondi hasn't done it. Kash Patel hasn't done it. Dan Bongino hasn't done it. If you're paying attention to MAGA right now, they're divided right now, and they're going after Dan and Kash, and this is going to be a huge problem for MAGA.
Agreed. I believe the evidence also points to Jeffrey Epstein killing himself, no matter how shady the circumstances are. I think to make an extraordinary claim that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, you need extraordinary evidence, and I don't think the evidence is there to support it. But I think it's perfectly fair that, if the MAGA right is indulging in conspiracy theories and trying to attack the left over this, well, there are some inconvenient facts which implicate Donald Trump in terms of his association with Epstein as well. I think that's fair game to point out. One last clip.
Did you not find that even vaguely funny?
This is a reference to Donald Trump's attacks on Bruce Springsteen, a.k.a. The Boss, one of the biggest pop and rock singers in the history of the United States.
Every time I see a picture of the 9% body fat, 180-pound, rippling muscled Trump, because of the very real medical report we saw that assessed his physical condition, I'm in awe of him. I do agree with what Bruce Springsteen said, though. And I think the courts are basically reaffirming this, that Donald Trump is doing everything he can to destroy rule of law in this country. And that's why we are so desperate to talk about literally anything else, even if that's the prostate of the former president, than what Trump's current behavior.
I've got a question for you.
Great points all around from Wajahat and Destiny. Terrible points from Piers Morgan, Michael Knowles, and Dave Rubin. But this is, again, the problem. MAGA finds itself in a position that if they don't employ double standards, they are at a natural disadvantage. And hopefully, Piers Morgan will remember that Donald Trump is the sitting president. And if you really are a nonpartisan journalist, as you claim to be, then you should apply more scrutiny to Trump, the good and the bad, Piers. If you're watching, like and subscribe. Not just when it's convenient. That would be my recommendation to an otherwise very successful man running a very successful YouTube channel. I just wish he would actually follow through on his stated principles. The reason he won't is because it's really bad for Trump if he does. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.